Greetings, sunshines and sunnies. It is I, Queen J Lotus, Pimp Sunkiss, coming at y'all right quick, right fast, maybe, with a royale review for LoveCraft Country, episode 8, part 2. And for this part, we will be focused on the character Ruby and Christina. Now, I was gonna make part 2 Letty and Tick, but because I want D's part to be last, and it is Halloween. Happy Halloween to everyone who celebrates, okay? Because it is, a holiday theme going on here. I want to be able to focus on some characters in a timely manner that have some creepy stuff going on with them. So it's good to have Ruby and Christina here with all their creepiness, so that D can still be last. Now, if I'm lucky, I can get all these parts out today. But y'all, ain't gonna waste no time. I'm gonna get right into the specificities of this review. So make sure you caught up from the first part of this episode's review. I did Montrose first. Definitely peep the playlist so that you can make sure that you're not only caught up with the parts of this particular episode's review, but also all of the reviews up until this point, okay? It's all in the LoveCraft Country playlist. Don't cheat yourself. Instead, treat yourself. If you're scared, go to church. I know it hurts. Shout out and rest in peace to Tupac. Yeah, all right, now for real. Y'all know from the last parts review that we picked up at the funeral / viewing of Bobo, aka Emmett Till's memoriam celebration of life funeral, his death. He is portrayed as one of the best friends to D. D is having a hard time out here. It's one of the hottest days of the year, so it's a heat wave going on. Also, she's disturbed. I go more in depth of the environment at the beginning of Montrose's part, so again, make sure that you caught up because I'm not going to spend too much time in this particular scene for this part. But yeah, Cruel Summer is playing overhead, and honey, everybody is having a hard time, and the adults are trying to decide if they are going to tell her what is going on with Hippolyta, because Hippolyta went through their portal concerning the Ori and all that and has yet to come back. So they scared because they trying to see like how they gonna support her through all of this, amongst them having a bunch of craziness and stuff going on themselves, them grieving their own people, and trying to figure out, what is the truth concerning Hippolyta, where she at, if she coming back, and all of that. Tick and Letty have a little dispute off to the side about whether or not they gonna tell D, and like, is she alive? And Tick is holding out hope, but Letty feel like Hippolyta is dead and that she ain't coming back. Montrose feel like, she got to embrace, whatever is coming at her, just because, it's just a part of life. It's just across that they have to bear as black people and all this, that, and the third, honey. So ends up, whereas D ends up running off and everybody ends up splitting up. So Ruby said she gonna stay in line just in case D so happen to come back. So everybody else scurry off. And as far as we know, Ruby stayed right there. I don't know how long she stayed there, but she stayed right there. I also feel like it was a little plot that she was setting up so she can come at Christina with the bullshit. Because she probably don't want the lot of them. I know she didn't tell Letty about where she been staying, but she didn't tell the rest of them. She probably don't know. She probably don't want them to know where she been staying at and where she about to go. So now we're gonna catch up with Christina with Tick. Tick goes and meets her at a I think it's called a mausoleum. It's like a spiritual place where they have graves, but not like how a cemetery has graves. It's different. It's like drawers. I don't want to say it wrong. So and I don't really know how to describe it either. So if you need, you can just go ahead and look up mausoleum. But I believe that this is the mausoleum. Anywho, Tick enters, and she being a smart ass talking about she can't remember the last time somebody made her wait. And she say at least she had family to keep her company. That is the tombs of the people that reside in the mausoleum. I guess, their bodies, their spirit likely lingers around in there too, I guess. So yeah, that's what she mean by that. She being a weirdo. So Tick walks in. He's over it. And he just get straight to business. And he like, look, Teach me how to cast a spell. So Christina say, why now? These are some really great shots that they got of this scene too. Anywho, but Christina's like, why now? And he say, it's my birthright. She started giggling, talking about, listen, you don't even have enough whiteness in you to sell that type of entitlement. Baby, she be trying to. She be trying to. Oh, very provocative. Very provocative. And it gives very subtle Karen type traits. Like when she told him, you know better to be pulling guns on white women in broad daylight and stuff like that. She know what she be doing. She be trying to provoke that man and playing on his top and sunning the crap out of him because she know that if he tries to retaliate like talking about in the most basic of ways, she could easily just have him bammed up. And then likely get to him even quicker, y'all. Christina is like a spider. She just go to weaving the web and weaving the web. She put a little over here, a little over there, a little up there, a little down there. And before you know it, she just got a bunch of folks weaved all up in it. Weaved all up in the web. And they gonna come to her one way or another. Just, ooh, tisk. But her character is written very well. And the lady that plays her, I can't remember her name right now. Supermodel T's come through. But yeah, the lady that plays her did a damn good job. So yeah, she talking her shit, speaking her speech. And she said, oh no, something's changed. You're desperate now to do what? To protect yourself? And Tick, Jonathan Major specifically, gets to do a lot of nonverbal acting in this scene. And I appreciate that because his nonverbals are very strong. His nonverbal acting is very strong because he got good face for that. You know, he got real good, very definitive features about his face. And he's like what? He's 6 feet? He's not a short man. He, you know, pretty tall man, pretty large man. So he got a lot to work with, and he knows exactly what to do with it. So as Jonathan Majors is doing his thing through Tick, making these faces and shifting in his body language and carrying on, looking real stressed, but also like he holding something close to the chest all at the same time. So there's this juxtaposition of confidence mixed with pressure. Feeling real strong. The pressure of the circumstances. So she clocked him. Yep. Called him desperate. And then said, you managed to get Titus's pages. And she's impressed. She said, congratulations. I wasn't sure if you could pull it off because people have died. Hell, Hiram lost an arm. And he tells her, Horatio's pages are still out there. Howsoever, I would give you the orrery, but I think you really want this. And what he holds up is the key to the orrery. So child, her poker face done dropped. And you can tell that piqued her interest. But she's still trying to keep it player. So she kind of deflects a little bit and she says, incantation isn't a spell. And in simple terms, y'all, incantation is a bunch of words strung together with intent for a specific purpose to bring about something. So she's saying it isn't a spell, but in simple terms, incantation is a spell. But what she does is she specifies the reason why she says incantation isn't a spell. She's saying that particular part. Because the incantation references mostly the words specifically. So that's what she says, the words aren't enough. To cast, you need energy, intention, and a body. So, yeah, y'all catch the drift there? All that. So, yeah, she says that's how you upset the balance of nature. And I'm going to just kind of add on to it to, you know, basically, in a way, and you don't have to think of manipulation as automatically evil because it's not. But you manipulate energy. Co-collab with spirit to manipulate energy. Which is also why it's very important to be very in tune and honest with yourself and God when you go about doing any type of ritual that involves incantation, if you will. You know, they say words are spells, you know, words make mind, can bring about manifestations, things like that. So yeah, that's why you got to be careful because there are certain manipulations, if you will, that spirit may approve of, but there are some that spirit may not approve of. And upsetting the balance of nature in ways and at times where spirit does not approve can severely backfire on you. Maybe not in the moment, but the clown always comes back to bite. So just keep that in mind, not only for this episode, but for the entire series as a whole. And also, We might even get into some real life talks about some things, but that'll be in like the extra videos that I would do on the series once I'm done reviewing all the episodes. But anywho, she is giving him the rundown on it or whatever. So she says that's the way that you upset the balance of nature without a disaster. Perfect alignment. So harmony of the words, the intent, and the body. Everything must be on one accord. Everything must agree. And it's similar to a message that comes through at times where I'm doing readings on people and they may have issues with communication. And this is something that actually clicked to me by way of it coming through as a message in readings, as messages in reading, but in readings. But like as it concerns, like you could be in a situation where you constantly repeating something to somebody or some people over and over and over and over again. Or you can even think of it specifically as like a mother to her child. And she's steady saying, if you don't stop, I'm gonna punish you. If you don't stop, I'm gonna punish you. If you don't stop, I'm gonna punish you. Just keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it. And it's like, so the child is going in one ear and out the other because they don't believe that she really bad it. That's because her heart space and her throat space, her words, so you can say her heart chakra and her throat chakra are not in harmony. And the child can pick up on that. So the child not taking you serious because you're not even taking yourself serious. Yeah, you saying the words, but your heart space, your foundation, your body, your intent is not in harmony with what it is that you're communicating. So the energy is not transferring the way that you want it to. Therefore, it's not landing. So that's just another way that you can think of it. That is basically what she's explaining. You can say the words all day, but if your intent and your energy and your body and or the body that you're using in the ritual or whatever is not in harmonization with the words, then you might end up upsetting the universe, or it may not work, it may not go through. Now, another thing about what she's saying also ties into what I just said about the clown coming back to bite. If you are doing things that really aren't approved by the divine realm, the most highs of the divine realm, specifically perfect alignment. So that being said, all the other stuff that she just named could be in perfect alignment, but disapproval from spirit can interfere with the energy aspect. And therefore, like I said, the spell may work, but you will have a price to pay on the back end that may turn out to not even really be worth it, you know? So yeah, again, keep that in mind, child. So pressing forward, she done gave him that rundown and she gets up, she walks over to the wall and she fingers in, using like the dust, the smut or whatever is on the wall, she fingers in this protection symbol, basically showing him a bit of what he needs to do to cast a spell. She says, a geometric pattern in chalk or your blood. She said either is preferable to dust. And so, yeah, she gives him that geometric protection symbol to do in his blood. And in exchange, she gets the Ori. Now, this is similar to the skeleton key. And I want to tap into it, but I don't want to tap too deep into it because, I mean, most people have already seen it. If you haven't, I'm sorry if I end up spoiling it. So what I'm going to just say, though, so as she's walking out, he says to her, the autumnal equinox. And she freezes, looking crazy. And also looking like guilty, like she done got caught up in some shit. So I think at first she was like, oh my God, he know what I'm planning to do. He's on to me, especially after like the little nonverbal exchange they just had that I'm kind of tap into in just a sec. But then he asks, what's going to happen? Like what's going to happen on the autumnal equinox? So that kind of seems to soothe her spirit when he asks. So that lets her know that he knows something, but he doesn't know the tea. So she just turns around and she says, I am going to achieve what no one else in the order, not even the all-powerful Titus Braithwaite, has been able to achieve. And that is immortality. Mortal Kombat! So, she's telling the truth in that moment, but she ain't telling the whole truth. You got to think about what she said in that rundown. You need energy, intent, the words, and a body. Now, all spells ain't like, you know what I'm saying? All spells ain't a thing where something has to be knocked down in order for something else to be built up. But because that's how a lot of people think, that ends up being, you know, wrapped up in their intent. So, keep that in mind. She needs a body for her spell, right? Also, everything must be in harmony. So, she gave him a protection spell, but it's a specific type of protection spell. Like, just because she gave him a protection spell doesn't mean that it's going to protect him from absolutely everything, okay? There are different forms and different levels of protection. And again, intent is key. And if you don't know what all you're protecting yourself from, how is it going to show up in your intent? If you're not mindful of certain things that you may need to protect yourself from, you might end up, protecting yourself from certain things, but then still remaining vulnerable to other things. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Also, encouraging him to use blood. Now, of course, the use of bodily fluids and rituals can definitely enhance their power, especially when you are doing something directly to someone. So in this case, Tick is trying to protect himself. So it would make sense if he would use spit or blood, right? And the blood aspect, the bodily fluid aspect could even protect him in a health sense, right? And of course, if you want to do something like bad to somebody, then it may make it stronger if you have pieces of their hair or their blood or spit, whatever bodily fluids, So there's that. Keep that in mind. Because the reason why I said this reminds me of Skeleton Key is because the main character in the Skeleton Key, she peeped that it was some trickery dock stuff going on. She got real curious, and people were giving her information, but they were telling her what they wanted her to know. They weren't giving her all of the details, but they were telling her a lot to make her feel like she had all of the details, but they were leaving out just enough to make sure that she only goes so far and that she still ends up exactly where they want her to be, so that their plan can go how they need and want it to go. And low-key, high-key, in the information that they were giving her, it was all the tools to trap herself. They didn't even have to do too much. All they needed her to do was believe. So yeah, dog, yeah. After she said that whole thing about she gonna be attempting immortality and all that, that scene ends. And then the next time we see Christina, she is William again. And she has to basically save Ruby. Because Ruby is walking her way on down to the house that they stay over, the house that they staying in over on the north side, where she stayed with Christina / William. And this police officer is low-key, high-key harassing her, finding anything to say to her, any questions to ask her, being antagonistic, racist. Like, this lady is literally minding her business, just trying to, get into the estate. But of course, because she's a black woman and this is a white neighborhood and this is a real nice house and everything, he's talking about, you the maid? She turned around, she said, no, I'm not the damn maid. And I felt it, girl. Speak your speech, talk your shit, get him together, read him, baby. Hooked on phonics. But we know that this is a different time period, so it really can't go all of that way. Otherwise, Ruby would end up in a different situation. House and Never, because this is LoveCraft country and they got all of the trickery dot going on. Okay? Miss Christina is able to camouflage herself, if you will, as a white man and stroll right on up here in just the nick of time to make sure that this white man don't do nothing to Ruby. And as I'm looking at it again, this ain't even no officer. All this time I thought that he was an officer, but no, he's just some entitled racist white man. Child, social conditioning, I tell you. But Christina / William gets out of the car. That's a nice car too. She got on a nice suit. Anywho, but she said, he say, she, they say, is it a problem? And the white man said, not if you know her. And he says, they mess on the other side of town, got everybody up in arms. And he's just trying to make sure that none of that hoopla come on over to their neighborhood. And Christina / William says, thank you. That's very much so appreciated. Tisk. I love the directing, writing / acting choices of, everybody involved when it comes to William being protective of Ruby in different instances. Because we know that it's only so much that can be done without other white people suspecting something of William and potentially trying to attack him and all of this and that. Of course, / Christina, whatever. But there's an energy. There's an energy that William gives off that gives, yeah, I'm speaking for her, move around, because you don't want these problems. Like, I understand what it is and what it's going to be, but also what it is and what it's going to be is you're going to need to back up, use a little puppy, so just get to stepping. Very dominant, very much so. All you see is just the ika, but this is the ika that I care about, okay? So back that ass up. You feel me? And that could honestly be something that make you feel a whole lot of different ways. But I appreciate the way that it is portrayed because it says a lot. It says a lot about the time period, the environment. Kind of gives us a peek to the fact that like back then there were white people who did not agree with all of the racism and brutality and all of that, but they themselves even felt trapped in certain ways and unable to speak up for what's right out of fear that they may be attacked and handled in the same way themselves. Now, I'm not saying that all the white people deserve brownie points and all that because it still says a lot if you're able to sit up and just watch a person or people be treated a certain way and you say, well, my safety in all of this, my comfortability is just so much more important that I'm just gonna shit my fat ass up and eat my food or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So, in a way, that mindset is understandable because in a way, it's human nature when it comes to survival. But we are not just primal; we are also spiritual. So, if you have the capacity to just sit up and watch people be brutalized and done wrong, and you don't say nothing, your primal side, your simple baseline human side is on one accord when it comes to survival, but your spirit is fucked up. So, duality. Duality. Like, okay, you got what it takes to survive. Yay. But your spirit fucked up because you lack a sense of humanity and you lack a sense of will to fight for humanity. And you lack faith, not only in yourself and in humanity, but also in your spirit and in the spirit realm. So, yeah, that's a real deep conversation that we'll unpack another time. But yeah, William scared a white man on off and walks on over to a clearly distraught and disheveled Ruby. And she is like reflecting on how she saw Emmett Till at the service. And she says he looked like a monster. But that's such a powerful statement, specifically to this show and the theme of Lovecraft's work overall. Because, you know, all of it bears the question of who are the monsters? What is a monster? What makes a monster? And they play with the theme of that question very well throughout this entire series. As you know, it's a running theme throughout Lovecraft's work. It's a running theme throughout how people perceive and discuss and debate upon his work. And I feel like they kept that nature alive very well throughout this series. And to be able to have used the situation of Emmett Till in such a way, it's just really powerful and fucking amazing to me because that's a really sensitive subject. And to be able to do what they've done with the story in such a audacious and such an audacious manner that also still remains respectful and purposeful. And so it's like her saying he looked like a monster. So of course he looked deformed and everything because of the way that he was wrongfully and unexcusably brutalized. And that says a lot too about the way that we're taught to perceive monsters in an aesthetic type sense, like how we're taught to feel like and think monsters look to the eye, which is very interesting because in actuality okay, so I'm gonna put it like this. In this society and many societies, we're taught to see white people as the standards of beauty. So interestingly enough, you look at what was done to Emmett Till, and you say he looked like a monster. You know, with the results of what was done to him, he looked like a monster. But the people who actually did that to him, we, as a societal collective, are taught that they don't look like monsters. No matter what they look like, they don't look like monsters because they're white, and they have specific features that we're taught are associated with whiteness. It's also ironic, if I'm using that term correctly, it's also ironic that Ruby is saying this to William, who is actually Christina. So Christina is beautiful. William is beautiful. But the process that happens for Christina to become William and then to go back to being Christina is monstrous. You know, if you think of it in the way that we're taught to think of monstrosity, it's monstrous, it's ugly, it's gory, it's absurd and surreal, right? So saying that to someone who could be perceived as a monster, not only by way of that spell, but by way of other things that Christina engages in. Now, Ruby is not all the way, in tune with everything that Christina has had going on and be doing, but still ironic nonetheless, because she's saying this to someone who would be considered monstrous. You can also conceptualize it in a way of like, I think it is, this quote is from, I've heard it in other places, but it stood out to me the most in this play called Pipeline. And one of the characters says something about another girl at her school, and she said she wants to slice her face because she thinks she's so pretty. And she said that she wants to slice her face because she wanted to make the girl look how she herself feels on the inside. So I want to make you ugly because I feel ugly on the inside. And I feel like that's the thing that goes on when it comes to hate crimes as well. And specifically speaking, racial hate crimes, such as what was done to Emmett Till. Emmett Till was just one of the cutest little boys you could have ever seen in your life. Based on the pictures that I've seen, of course. And so it makes me feel as though, that's one of many things that makes me feel as though a lot of the roots of racism have to do with envy. And when it gets to the vanity aspect of it all, it definitely gives like a lot of brutality that white racist hate crimers done to black people and people of color is out of, I want to make y'all look how I feel. And it don't even always have to be an aesthetic thing. It can also be in a character sense, personality sense, type shit. It just really gives that a lot of hate isms, racism, homophobia, xenophobia, colorism. A lot of the isms and obias seem to be rooted in envy. And so that's just what that line that Ruby says, he looked like a monster, triggered up for me. It triggered up all those thoughts for me. So you can even take that concept to H.P. Lovecraft and the way that he did his monstrous characters in a lot of his pieces, where he would, in simple terms, make black people and people of color look bad, look like monsters, look like beings to be feared and attacked and erased for the sake of others' own safety. You know what I'm saying? So that in itself could also be I'm going to make these people look the way that I actually feel about myself. So she says that William escorts her on into the house, and they are preparing for a little hanky-panky with I Put a Spell on You playing over top. Now, y'all know that this song plays multiple times throughout the series, and each time it plays, it's a different version. Y'all know we're going to discuss the music and some outside videos once I'm done reviewing all the episodes. But I just really love the way that they used that song and the version of the song that they used for this scene. So, for this scene specifically, it ain't a whole lot of dialogue going on. It's a whole lot of showing of what's going on. Them slowly, it's really William slowly and tenderly and lovingly undressing Ruby. Ruby is bad, y'all. That's a badass yacht. Yes, ma'am. And as this is going on, it's very much so like he's taking very good care of her. She's crying in the mist. He bathes her. You can see the smoke coming off the water, so you know it's very warm, very cozy, very comforting. And he embraces her also in the mist, touching her very gently, very softly, and goes in for a kiss. And she takes it, okay, and she gives it. And then a part of her is also resistant and pulls away and kind of removes herself from him for a moment. Goes over to the mirror. We see her. She got a robe on real quick, right fast, and she goes about taking the potion. And we see her in the mirror gradually change. And I think that this is one of the first time we get to see the actual gradual transformation of them turning into who they turn into when they take the potion. So in this case, Ruby becoming Hillary gradually. And I love the way that they did this. Because the way that it happens, it ends up kind of looking like vitiligo. I think is how you say that. It ends up looking like vitiligo. And Ruby slowly turns away. We also see her eye color change as well. But when she turns back around, the next time we see her and William, she is riding him, okay? Riding him like a freak cowboy. Yes, God. And as she's riding him, at least from where we pick up at, you see him like scratching her back, and it's leaving like very visible imprints that quickly heal themselves in a way. But at this moment, you can kind of see that the metamorphosis is about to take place. The spell The potion is wearing off just in time for her orgasm, honey. So she is metamorphosizing back to Ruby, and she is orgasming all at the same time. And baby, this is a sight to see, and shout out to the special effects people. Shout out to the actors. Shout out to the writers. Shout out to everybody who had a hand in all of this, but definitely specifically this scene, because this is one of, baby, probably the best sex scene I have seen in my life. And it's so gruesome, it's so nasty, it's so horrific and disgusting, but also so passionate, so loving, so jam-packed with all of the feels, honey. All of them, intensity, and it's so fucking cool how they do it, bruh. Me describing it will do it no justice. You have to just see it if you have not, and even if you have seen it, baby, I bid you to go watch it again. Just this scene, child. Now, clearly, I have, a few of the pictures up there from the scene, but still, that ain't doing it no justice. You got to go see it, baby, because that was a hell of a scene to see. And once again, I say this when it comes to any sex scene that we see specifically on Lovecraft Country. I really don't like sex scenes like that. I understand their purpose, so I appreciate them when they're used in pieces, but I appreciate them even more when the sex scene is carrying on the story. It's not just like, okay, these characters are human and they live and they have relationships, so they have sex just because that's what people do. No. When we see these people have sex, the sex that they're having is still continuing on the story being told. Even though there's no dialogue, the characters are still communicating to each other through the sex, and you can see that it is intentionally implanted also and implemented in the sexual choreography for the scene, such as Ruby/Hillary being on top this time, right? So we'll discuss that particular element about her being on top once we get to the depths of the next conversation that Ruby and Christina end up having. Now, I don't know exactly where they at, but I think it's somewhere in the house, somewhere in William's house. And Christina was on the phone when Ruby walked in. But Ruby addressed her and Christina get off the phone. And Ruby goes on to say, Ruby also looked like done for and over it, like she want to smack the shit out of Christina. So there's a contrast there. The sorrow has transformed into anger. So yes, she goes on to say, and this is a powerful ass scene. This is one of my favorite scenes out the whole series. It's one of my favorite scenes out of any creative piece, specifically because of the subject matter, as well as definitely the way that the actresses did their thing, amongst the writers, of course, as well, because, of course, they wrote the words. Also, I have to say the casting as well, given their aesthetic, the way that the two of them look, perfect for everything that this scene is communicating. So, Ruby says, a 14-year-old boy was beat and shot to death and then tied with barbed wire by the neck to a cotton gin fan and cast into the Tallahatchie River. And Christina says, I know. Ruby says, honey, but do you care? Okay? Do you care? And they just have a stare for a second. And Ruby says, at all. So with this, Ruby, the lady that plays Ruby, is another actress that does nonverbal acting extremely well. And she gets a lot to play with in this series, much like Jonathan Majors gets a lot to play with in this series as it concerns the nonverbals. So I bring that up to say that, like I said, when Ruby came in, she was very direct, very dominant in her energy, like demanding answers, demanding a specific type of response from Christina. And like I said, the sorrow has turned into anger. But when Christina has that pause after she asks her, does she care? Ruby's face kind of twitches and her posture kind of staggers a little bit, but she pulls it back together and she says, at all? Like, do you care at all? Like, that potential that Christina's pause means that she doesn't care, that hurt Ruby in some way. And it showed on her face, and it showed in her body language. It also showed in her vocality when she delivered that line saying, at all. A weak spot showed there. Not to say that Ruby is weak, but just a little vulnerable, soft spot showed there. That lets you know that Ruby doesn't only have an attachment to William, she actually cares about Christina. This is a bisexual relationship. I mean, like, in the way of, like, I feel like it kind of confirms that Ruby is not just into men. Because she has the capacity to also clearly be into Christina. Now, you can say that's a roundabout way because Christina has been acting as William, so it's like, she was in love with Christina the whole time. You can say that she catfished her. But even still, I feel like that consistency remaining goes to show that Ruby is also into Christina. So, yeah, anywho, Ruby asks, does she care at all? Christina fixes herself. She gets up. She says, you want me to say yes? Ruby steps forward. She says, I don't want you to say anything. I want you to feel what I feel right now. Heartbroken. Okay? Scared. Furious. Tired. So fucking tired of feeling this way over and over and over and over. And I want you to feel alone and shameful. Because I'm here feeling this. Ooh, child. And you will never understand it. Now, Ruby got a lot of loaded words and phrases throughout this episode. In general, she do, but in this episode, it's like, woo, okay? Because what she's saying in this scene still ties to what I was saying a minute ago as it concerns the theme and concept, perspectives, and all of that of monstrosity. So, first things first, I want to pinpoint the way that Ruby makes a very valid point that Christina has not shown any emotion. The most emotion that is shown from her character is by way of William. William shows softness and tenderness and all of that, which is so crazy, right? Because we associate those characteristics with femininity. But Christina shows that more so when she is William. But when she's Christina, she's extra cold. Extra cold, extra seemingly nonchalant, aloof, not present, not emotionally available type shit. So that's a really good point. So it's like Ruby is trying to figure out who she really is, like what is real. Is who you are when you're William real, or is Christina real, or is it both? Like, what conditions determine how you come off, and what are you really feeling? Like, it can easily come off like Christina has a lot to hide because she's not a woman of many words, and even when she does speak, it's quite cryptic. And again, she doesn't speak with a lot of soul, or any soul at all, to be honest. Very much so poker face the majority of the time. Now, as we get into Ruby saying, I want you to feel how I feel. I want you to feel tired, shameful, alone, all that. And that is, I want to make sure that I'm saying this as responsibly as possible. Love how they play with juxtapositions and mirrorings, right? And that's been a theme throughout the series as well. Mirroring. And they're definitely mirroring each other in this scene in a multitude of different ways. And I'm going to do I might end up doing a whole video for this scene specifically, just to unpack some different things that concerns like other elements like mirroring and all of that. But so Ruby feels free enough in talking to Christina / William to be able to say powerfully, I don't want you to say anything. I want you to feel. I want you to feel how I feel. I want you to feel shameful. I want you to feel alone. I want you to feel tired, fucking tired of, you know what I'm saying? I want you to hate yourself. I want you to hate yourself. I want you to feel how I feel. And that correlates with what I just expressed in feeling like racism, people who are hateful, bigoted towards specific groups. It seems as though it is out of envy. And you want to make whoever it is, whatever group it is that you hate, you want them to feel how you feel. You want them to believe that your reality is their reality because misery loves company. So while Ruby feels defeated, she exhibits characteristics that show that in one way or another, at least with Christina / William, she feels free to express how she feels. Whereas the racist white people, it goes to show that there's a certain level of freedom that they don't feel, to be straight up about the fact that I want you to feel how I feel. I feel like shit. I hate myself, and I want you to feel the same way, and that's why I treat you how I treat you. They don't feel a freedom in themselves to do that. So instead, they act out. And much like in real life in general, there are a lot of black people that feel free to say they want the lot of white people to feel how they feel in the feelings of oppression, the feelings that come with the experience of oppression, that they want white people to know how that feels. Because they want the empathy. Like that's a lot of what it is. They want the empathy. There is some sadism there for certain people because like you want to fight fire with fire. You want to feel like you're not alone in your experience. You want the bad guys to get got, and you want them to get got the way that you got, however that was. So yeah, just showing those parallels, mirroring, juxtapositions, and all that. So Ruby going on to say she wants Christina to feel guilty for feeling safe next to her and her privilege, Christina's privilege that is. And Ruby is saying she should be on the south side with her people, mourning a sweet little boy who was taken from us And she says, you want to know why I took that potion? Because on today, of all days, I didn't want to be a black woman fucking a white man. Boy, that's a strong ass statement there. Ruby said a whole lot of strong ass shit. And again, saying she wants Christina to feel guilty. And I feel like, yes, that's between like the two of them, but this is like hella layered. Whereas black people are made to feel guilty for just existing. Specifically and especially black women, specifically and especially black women who look like Ruby. And we've seen multiple instances throughout this series where Ruby has been made to feel guilty about a slew of things, has been treated like a criminal for simply existing. So there's that aspect tied together with the fact that Ruby also feels guilty for removing herself from her reality, if you will. She feels guilty because she feels like she said, she should be over there with her people, mourning the little boy, sharing in that experience, embracing and indulging in, if you will, her culture. But instead, she feels like she's sold out for the protection, the privilege to be in the bubble that is adjacent to whiteness. Now, that makes total sense. It makes total sense why Ruby would feel guilty. And in a way, she should feel guilty. But in a way, Ruby's not wrong. And the reason why I feel like Ruby is not wrong is because everybody grieves differently. And if you keep doing something the same way, expecting different results, that's insanity, right? So this takes it back to Montrose's perspective of the lot of things that have gone on in the series, but specifically the things that he was saying at the beginning of this episode, where he said it's every Negro's rite of passage to basically experience the gruesomeness of what's going on specifically in the episode, what's happened with the episode is evolving around the brutalization of Bobo / Emmett Till. So you say, yes, that's what you do. That's what you have to do. You have to go to the funeral. You have to go mourn and be sad with your family and everybody that's considered family in the situation. But then at the same time, what about the people who mourn differently? What about the people who find peace through removing themselves from those environments? That's just like there are cultures, the people of New Orleans specifically tend to be most known for not having sad ceremonies for a celebration of life. They have parties, and there are people that are just like that because they are like that. They would rather go sit to themselves and be with themselves and their own thoughts and their feelings and just be and remember everything and all of that. And that way you got people that would rather party. You got people who, are fine with the gloomy mourning of it all, and people that can go either way. So I like to say, I don't feel like people are automatically bad people because they choose to remove themselves from the gloom of a mourning ceremony, if you will. Ruby, however, may also feel guilty because she has been so hard on Letty for not showing up to funerals and, not being present for certain like major things that's happening in the family's life and all of that. And so she may feel like a hypocrite. Also, like she has to be angry with herself for the way that she's handling everything. And like I said, if those are her morals and her values, she got every right to feel like, damn, I failed myself. Let me try to get it together so this don't happen again or whatever, what have you. But at the same time, like I said, I don't think Ruby is wrong. Because Ruby's experience also as a black woman, as the type of black woman that she is, it's unfortunate that she doesn't feel like she deserves peace. It's unfortunate that she feels like she's obligated to be involved in every opportunity to be sad or mad. Like that's the box that she's been given to fit into. And if she steps outside of it, then she's not worthy or she's done something wrong. And there's a lot of people like her in real life that feel that way. They feel like they always have to be present. And I don't want to say this like in a heartless manner, but they feel like they always have to be there to be strong for everybody else whenever something sad or a travesty is going on. They feel like their presence is obligated to be there, and everybody is looking for them to suck and drain off of them. And sometimes you need to separate yourself. You need to isolate yourself so that you can tend to yourself, because if you're not good for yourself, you're not going to be good for nobody else. You know what I'm saying? So also the fact that Ruby has separated herself in such a way and ended up in such a position where it's whiteness that she ended up separating herself unto, if you will, comes from deprivation that created desperation, And we talk about that a lot on this channel, and how being deprived and allowing it to make you desperate can cause you to do some really crazy stuff, some really harmful stuff to yourself and others. And that's also where Ruby is at with it as well. Now, y'all ain't gonna lie. Christina snapped. Christina monologue was on point too. So both of these individuals, and that's the mirroring child, that's the duality. Both of these individuals are dead as wrong, but they are so right at the same time. And their reasonings for thinking how they think, feeling how they feel, and doing what they do make sense. It makes sense on both ends. Both of them are on two different sides of the same coin. Because even though Christina plays it cool very well, Christina has also been severely deprived. Christina is also desperate. Christina is very calculated, but she's also doing a lot of reckless, stupid shit in the midst, out of desperation, that subject to land her into some messed up positions. But she starts to say, no. And Ruby says, what? And Christina follows up. She said, I don't care about Emmett Till. I don't care about Roy Bryant or J.W. Millam, who will never see justice for what they did. I don't care that half the city is on the brink because of it. And I don't think you really care either. Ooh, pain. Ooh, it's like being unmade. That's what you said about the transformation, but that's not what I saw when I was fucking you. Ooh, I saw someone being reborn. She said, you took that potion because you wanted to hide from the fact that even on today of all days, you were a woman who wanted what she wanted. Oh, Tisk! Tisk read her down for the filth, hooked on phonics, left her shooketh with eggs on her face and tears rolling down her cheeks. Now, honey, Christina is a cold-hearted biatch. Christina's a cold-hearted biatch. But let me tell you how I feel about what she said. So, I feel like, again, multiple things are true here. I feel like Christina does a very good job at acting like she don't give a fuck. But in actuality, she do. She just can't allow herself to give a fuck so much because it may get in the way of what she wants. Because times where she cared in the past, probably, you know, she had hearts for William. She had heart for her daddy and probably a multitude of other people that were family members of her, men in particular, who she felt for, and they treated her like crap and discarded her at every turn. So now it's like this resistance to giving a fuck because she associates that with betraying herself and sacrificing what it is that she wants, which a lot of women have that experience and also handle it in such a way where it's, I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck about you and anything you do. Don't give a fuck about you and anything you do. When in actuality they may care very much, they just don't want to allow themselves to because they themselves are afraid. Another part of this, I feel like Christina is resistant to caring because it's males. It involves males, and we know she got this hatred of men, basically this hatred and disregard of men based on how men have been with her. So it's similar to how Ruby feels about white women and white people in general, but Christina has that feeling specifically towards men. Seeing how that hierarchy work? Yeah. So another part of what she said she feels like Ruby doesn't really care either. That's a double-edged sword. I feel like Ruby cares, but I feel like Ruby is tired of caring because for so long she's been caring out of obligation. It doesn't seem like she's had much of a choice in the things that she's put her care and her heart to. She's always had people telling her what she has to care about, what she's supposed to be caring for. So while I feel like she cares genuinely, she also has a resistance to giving a fuck, but she's in the habit of performing like she cares more than she actually does and more than she actually has the capacity to at certain times. Because sometimes you just get burnt out on giving a fuck and you can't give a fuck even if you tried. You know what I'm saying? Because you're just so tired of overgiving of yourself and your energy to different people and situations and you're not being rejuvenated. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Christina is correct about what she's saying about Ruby. While there are some flaws there, I do feel like she's correct in what she's saying about Ruby, that she took that potion because even on that day of all days, she didn't want to face the fact that she was a woman who wanted just what she wanted. And she didn't want to care about none of the other stuff. So, it's like, all the while, Christina is still a diabolical biatch because she just played the fuck out of Ruby. Even though I feel like she does have some care and some love for Ruby for real, She just manhandled the fuck out of her. That's why I said, like, when she's William, she comes off more feminine, but when she's Christina, she be acting like, quote unquote, like a man. And it's like, in so many words, she just told Ruby, shut that shit up, because you still let me fuck. You my baby mama. I won. But one thing that I think is so prominent here is that amongst all of this, I feel a need to pinpoint something that's being communicated here that I don't feel like it's pinpointed a whole lot when it comes to people unpacking this scene. Sometimes, a lot of the times actually, black people, let me put it like this. Let me just restart that whole statement. And I'm gonna start it off with, black people are not a monolith. But black people have been so deprived of community and village. Like, there are so many traumatic wounds there historically that black people both super duper cling to black community and, the potential to be a monolith out of deprivation and desperation, while at the same time there are a lot of black people that also want to run and separate themselves because it can get to be too much. Being black, as it associates with struggle and harm and, all of that, can get exhausting to a point where you don't want to associate with it at all. Again, it's also the result of deprivation and desperation. That's why moderation is key. That's why individuality is key just as much as unity. And that's where it gets to, black people really need to understand that, yes, we can be family, but we don't have to be a herd. It's healthy for us to be family without being a herd. Without feeling like everything one black person does is a reflection of all black people. Without feeling like all black people have to think a certain way, or black people don't do this and black people don't do that, or they do it like this and da 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 da. All of that facilitates exhaustion and facilitates deprivation and desperation. And I say all of that to say, Ruby and people like Ruby, black people as a collective, have to be okay with just being themselves outside of being black and whatever it is that they feel like, black means. Liberate yourself unto being an individual spirit who so happens to be black. And of course, that's difficult when you have racial barriers and such. Howsoever, difficult doesn't mean impossible, right? Right. So, again, you can say Ruby is wrong because she separated herself from the mourning of the village and the community. But at the same time, she not wrong. She don't have to mourn a certain type of way just because all of the black people of that area are mourning in that same way. She don't have to be there just because all of the other black people are there. Sometimes protecting yourself is not doing what everybody else is doing. Sometimes you need to choose yourself and be okay with it. So yeah. Honey, I think that's the last scene of this episode that has Ruby and Christina. But we got some more scenes with Christina specifically. So when we pick back up with Christina, she is stumbling upon, well, not really stumbling upon, but she kind of skates on in at the tail end of Letty's prayer in the church. Then in the church, it look like they got a candlelit memoriam down there for Emmett Till. And so she done set up for Christina to meet her down there. Christina shows up and she said, I didn't take you as a praying woman. And Letty says, I wasn't, till I died. Tisk. And she said, and was resurrected. And Christina says that wasn't a miracle. It was magic. See, the issue with Christina is, and this is how she fucks herself. Christina's so smart, she dumb. Christina is one of those people that has figured out certain things that a certain group of people wasn't able to. And so, because of that, she thinks she got all the answers. But she don't realize that answers and discovery don't start with her. Okay? And it ain't start with her as either. So, yeah, it's saying that it wasn't a miracle, it was magic. And like Letty says, are they really so different? Or are they just the same thing with, using two different words? That's like, I can say something is the color red, or I can say it's the color crimson. Okay? Like, I can say something is blue, or I can say that it's cyan. Or I can say that it's indigo. I can say it's purple, or I can say it's violet. I can say it's orange, or it's tangerine. You feel me? So, tomato, bitch. The fuck? Anywho, like Letty said, are they really so different? Walking on water, curing the blind, raising the dead. Yes. So Christina says, perhaps my father considered himself godlike when he resurrected you, but he was just a mortal. Confused that being powerful and being able to manipulate those around him made him more. Most men with God complexes want to live in heaven, but not in hell, failing to understand that God is both. Girl, Christina, girl, you better talk your shit, girl. You better talk your shit. I ain't got to elaborate too thoroughly on it because she said it. She said it exactly like how it is. You know what I'm saying? She spoke her speech and she did that. Period. So, let it scoff at her. And she says, is that what you want? To be God? And Christina says, I'm sure you didn't bring me here to find out what I want. Okay. Letty says, well, she goes into her bag and pulls out some things, which are the negatives of Titus's pages. And she says she'll give them to Christina if she make Atticus invulnerable. And Christina, you can see the look on her face. She's like, oh, no, ma'am, absolutely not. No, ma'am, no ham, no turkey, no jam. But while I won't do it for Atticus, I do it for you. Christina with the chicory dickory dock. Christina is with the chicory dickory dock. So Letty pulls away a little bit or whatever. But as Christina walks away, she thinks about it. She gets up and she like, wait. Okay. Christina is feeling herself because she like, all right. She give a little smirk. She turn on back around. Y'all, this lady tall. This lady tall. Either she tall or it's the way that they, either she tall as shit or it's the way that they shooting it or she got some really high heels or all that. But Christina or the lady that plays her is tall, like really tall. At least for a woman. And it makes sense because the lady that's playing her is a supermodel, but still, this lady is tall and she is towering over Letty significantly. Like, oh my gosh. I have never seen Journey Smollett look so short. So, that make me wonder how tall Ruby is and how short Journey is because they look like, but camera angles be a mug and high heels be a mug too. But Christina don't look like she's so much taller than Ruby, but she looks significantly taller than Journey. I don't know, that's interesting, but that's beside the point. So they face to face as much as they can be considering the height difference. And Letty gives Christina the pages. Christina starts to say the chant in the language of Adam to do the invulnerability spell on Letty. And the spot where Letty was shot starts to like give this burning sensation, and you can see that it's burning. But it's also it's burning for the sake of healing. And so Christina said that she was the first to discover that spell that she did. It's a certain name that she said. I think she said it's the mark of Cain. She said that the mark of Cain, which is the invulnerability spell, she was the first person to discover that you could also use it to heal someone. So Letty's gunshot wound has been healed in every which way possible. Apparently she still had some wound in there, even though she was, resurrected and all of that. There was still some wounding that was present there, be it spiritually, internally, whatever, what have you, child. So yeah, she did the invulnerability spell on Letty. And we'll discuss more about, how that affects Letty in this episode when we get to Letty and Tick's parts of the review. Now, child, I realized that I was also tripping because there's actually one more scene, if you will, with Ruby. So we got to pinpoint this conversation that she has with Letty down in the dark room of the house. And Letty's dark room, that's her picture room and all of that. She's going through the pictures. And Ruby asked her, is she going through the pictures from Emmett Till's wake? So that was his wake that happened at the beginning. But I'm not sure if they did the wake and the funeral and all one day. But anywho, she's going through the pictures. And she's saying that they're not from the wake. That is actually, Letty is going through some pictures that she has of Tick and of her and Tick specifically. So, I wonder. So I ain't really got to wonder. So, Ruby asked her, did she see him? Did she see Emmett? Because she's kind of coming to the conclusion that Letty didn't get no pictures from the wake, and she's kind of disappointed that Letty is down there looking at pictures of Tick and not going through stuff for Emmett. But I think she's resistant to addressing it head on because she got her own things that she feeling guilty about as it concerns the way that she is handling her grief and the collective mourning of Emmett Till / Bobo. She's also, of course, not realizing that Letty is going through the pictures in such a way, one, because she's pregnant, and two, because Tick has a mark of death on him. And she also probably looking for clues. So Letty goes on to say, she says Mammy was brave to show the world what was done to her son, but she wasn't even brave enough to take a few damn pictures. Also, Letty is guilt tripping herself because She feels like she failed on that front. She mad at herself for not getting enough pictures. I feel like this is also redeeming to Ruby and how she's perceiving everything that's going on, and she embraces Letty and gives her some words of comfort as well. And what she says is choosing what was best for yourself in that moment was a different kind of bravery. You can't feel guilty for protecting yourself first, baby. Yes, and that's exactly what I was saying in my interpretation of Ruby from the scene that she had with Christina in the conversation that they were having. That's exactly what I was saying. Choosing yourself is necessary. Choosing to protect yourself is necessary, and you shouldn't feel guilty for choosing to do what's best for you in a moment. Now, can I wait? It's ways that you can go about that can say a lot of bad things about you, but it's not automatically bad. You know, Ruby didn't have malicious intent in the things that she did to separate herself from, all of the morning. And Letty didn't have malicious intent behind not taking no pictures. It's just what happened. It's just what so happened to be their response to a very overwhelming situation. Christina, on the other hand, may not have malicious intent, but apathy is oftentimes worse than hate and or malice because you're being totally disregarding. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that at that for the moment. So yeah, Ruby likely wouldn't have had that perspective or that to say to her also if she hadn't experienced things the way that she experienced. So that also goes to show that some of the guilt that Ruby has been projecting onto Letty has been Ruby being a misery loves company as person. Even though there are times where she was, right in her feelings were valid, and some of her perspective as it concerns Letty may have even been valid as well. But her motivation for laying into Letty all of them times the way that she did had more to do with misery loving company than Ruby actually trying to help Letty be a better person. Now, from that moment of Ruby giving Letty the encouraging word, Letty turns around, kind of centers herself, and she tells Ruby that she's pregnant. Ruby is disappointed. Ruby said, damn it, Letty. Now you done really gone and gotten yourself into it now. Tisk. And Letty said, you don't even know the half of it. And Ruby says, you should have stayed your ass down there with Marvin instead of following that man to Artem. Child going in on her like a mama. She said, yeah, I know all about magic and how George really died. And Letty said, that white man you staying with? And Ruby said, only a man half the time. Sometimes he's Christina Braithwaite, baby. Letty face done dropped and flushed, honey. She said, she got you spying on us or something? And Ruby said, how can you even ask me that? And Letty said, because she came to me trying to get me to do the same damn thing. She's playing you, Ruby. Ruby said, no, I'm getting exactly what I want. Letty said, and what is that? Ruby said, magic. She gave me a potion that could turn me into a white lady. Yeah. And I finally got that job down at Marshall Fields, and you know what I learned? I don't want to be white. I'm just sick of forgiving every space that I enter because it's not for me. I want to create my own space, and I can do that with magic. Christina's don't teach me, child. She sounds so crazy, but it's understandable why she got that perspective, but she only sounds crazy because we already know what is going on. Yes, honey, you're getting gamed, you're getting got. And so, in the midst of this, before Letty can even have time to fill in the blanks for her, we hear yelling from upstairs saying, Letty, you need to get up here now. You need to get up here now. So they rush on up the stairs, and it's people at the door. People's at the door. It is cops, specifically at the door. A bunch of them. One of them step on in, and they talking about, they heard that it was some Muslims or some militant black people meeting up there at the house trying to cook up a plot from Todd to come at them with the bullshit in retaliation for Emmett Till. They know they ain't heard no such thing. This is just Officer Lancaster being a butt. So yeah, Ruby and Letty up here looking at him crazy like, I know you lying. And Letty says that's bullshit. And Officer Lancaster tries to step in, but he is pushed back by the force field from the protection spell that they had done on the house. So he peeped. They know magic, and they got a protection spell on this house. So he like, let's go. And now they know too that Officer Lancaster ain't shit. That Officer Lancaster know magic, and that he is an enemy, honey. He can't be trusted in no way, shape, nor form. So Ruby is like, what the hell just happened? Let it tell her the house is protected by ritual, and he couldn't step in here, and that means that motherfucker knows magic. So as they are scurrying off to go, get themselves together or do whatever, what have you, cook up a plan and all that, they ain't even got time because shots rang out. Shots rang out hard, heavy, and plentiful, and everybody hit the dirt. Everybody is scurrying and screaming, and Ruby is hella concerned because not only because of Letty and everybody else, but also, child, we got to protect the unborn baby off up in here. But that's what we're going to leave off with it. that's where we're going to leave off on the episode for this part of the review. Yes, God. Okay. And honey, I done ran my mouth about this episode. And you know, the two characters that we focused on for the episode, I done ran my mouth, realistically for an hour and 30 minutes. Now, when I speed it up, the video time is not going to be an hour and 30 minutes, but the original time of this video was an hour and 30 minutes. And it really took me a little longer than an hour and 30 minutes to do it, because every time I start recording, people like to come up in my space and be doing stuff. But anywho, child, that ain't got nothing to do with y'all. But I say all that to say, with all that being said, child, if I do say so myself, honey, I have milked this cow dry. And I'm thoroughly appreciative of the exchange of vibes. And if you're feeling synchronized, please do me a divine design and like, share, and subscribe, so that you could be one of the first to be back through these queenly quarters for the next time. And be sure to bless my comment section with your questions and conversations. And as always, I bid you in all ways light, love, healing, and liberation. Emphasis on liberation. Mwah.